Welcome one and all to another edition of the Defo Show with Lubie here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Thank you to the people at Water Cleanup of Florida. I smile every time I say that now because I think about who I was before I knew they existed. Look, and there's plenty of companies out there that handle water issues, fire, mold, and I'm sure they do a fine job. But I don't know if I would feel as comfortable with them as I know you'll feel with Water Cleanup of Florida. The fact that you can reach out to them 24/7, know you're going to get someone, know that you can set up an appointment, the fact that they will be able to, because they have licensed contractors as well in-house, that they'll be able to come out, assess the situation, and then fix it for you. And with over 60 years of combined experience between Michael, Robert, and their team, you know you're getting not only a job well done, you're getting a high-quality job that will be done efficiently, effectively, and quickly. I don't know many other companies out there that will do for you. A Water Cleanup of Florida will. Just give them a call, 954-579-0356, 954-579-0356, or visit them on the website, WCUFL.com, WCUFL.com. If you mention 5 Reasons or Lubie, 5 Reasons or Lubie, you get a free inspection during business hours. You can also check them out on the Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Water Cleanup FL. Don't let water, fire, mold damage stress you out. Just get in touch with Water Cleanup of Florida. We clean up your schmutz. All right, game 3 is tonight in the NBA Finals. Pat Riley had his end-of-season presser. We talked about that yesterday. We obviously talk a little bit about that. We also love our football down here. Miami Dolphins getting a lot of buzz for the first time in a while. They've had some successful seasons, but they haven't had the fun. And since, I don't know, maybe Dan Marino, it feels like finally we'll get some fun on offense. We return a very strong defense. We talked with Coach Mike Westhoff, longtime Dolphins special teams coach, longtime Jets special teams coach, won a lot with the New Orleans Saints, been around the league a long time, a guy that was an associate head coach, seemingly wherever he went, a guy well-respected around the league. He has a new book out, Figure It Out. We enjoyed talking to him. He talks about the Miami Dolphins, expectations as he just visited the Dolphins. He talked about his book, some of his stories, old Dolphin days with Don Shula, and so much more. We talk with Coach Mike Westhoff. Plus, we talk with Tony Segreto on a Kicking It Old School Wednesday, talking about Pat Riley and his end-of-season presser. Today, the Defo Show with Lubie on the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
Welcome one of our all-time favorites here on the program. I will never forget some of the sessions that I was privileged to have. Back in the day, we talk about this all the time, Lubie. I'm sorry you didn't get to experience this. When there was more of an integration of media and people that were involved in executive and coaching levels in sports. And I remember being invited a couple of times into Mike Westhoff's office, and he would explain to me like some piece of minutia that I never in my wildest dreams would have imagined was going to be a factor in a special teams play. Because to me, it was like turning on the grid when you had electronic football, and then all the guys would just fall down. I mean, it just looked like a collision thing, like roller derby. And the science behind it and the methodology behind some of the great results that Mike Westhoff had, fascinating to learn about firsthand. And we welcome him to the show because he's now sharing all of his secrets with the world with the book Figure It Out, which is a smash hit on the sports reading list and also just in general. Michael, welcome to the show. Congratulations on the great results you're getting with the book early on.
Jeff, thank you. Yeah, I'm very pleased since the fact that the book isn't even released yet. It'll come out through Barnes & Noble and Amazon and everyone on July 12th, but it is available through the publisher. The publisher's Mascot Books, and you can put it in and punch in the title, Figure It Out, and then able to get it. So I'm very proud of it. I worked hard to do it, almost 3 years, and I just like the book. It's a good story, and I'm very pleased with the fact that had interviewed a lot of the guys. So you're hearing me tell the story, and then you're hearing O.J. McDuffie talk about it, and I think that really gives it a level of credibility, and so I'm very proud of that.
Oh, I always love that. I mean, it's great in the Olympics when it happens, when they illustrate the background of different athletes and their stories and how they got to certain places and, how they evolved once they became at the highest level of their sport. And all of these football players have dealt with, a wide range of variables in getting to their position. You saw much of this transition across a long period of time. I was saying in the introduction, Mike, I know it was great because you used to be able to be like close to a coach. It wasn't like, and you're necessarily, hanging out with them all the time, but, there was sort of a warmer relationship, a more intimate relationship with media and players and coaches. How did you see that change over time? And do you think that's a good thing? Because, to get near anybody today in the National Football League, you have to go through more people than you would have to, to get an interview with the President of the United States.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's just like anything, Jeff. Everything's changed. I didn't. Everything was smaller. You had when I first went to Miami Dolphins, with Coach Shula. We had 7, 8, maybe 9 coaches at the most.
Wow.
I was at the Miami Dolphins last week. I think they had 29. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
So it's just so different. Now the complex. We had a little tiny place over at St. Thomas. You remember that? Just a little.
Yes. What a
and now
dump.
it's this big, this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful facility. I mean, you got to give the owner incredible credit for providing them with every single possible opportunity. Oh my goodness! I've been around some good looking football places. I've never seen anything like this. But I used to like to be able. I was not afraid to talk with the media. Sometimes I kind of wanted to know them better, so I'd know where I could find them when I wanted to try to kill them, maybe. But no, I enjoyed it. I respected the fact that what they were trying to do. I really did, and I wasn't afraid to show what I tried to do within a realm, of time and those things. So I didn't mind it, and I wasn't to come in and ask a question and be able to say, "This is what I'm trying to do, and this is why I'm trying to do it." I believed in that process. So for me, and then when I worked in the media, then I really did respect it for that length of time. But I met more good people that really that had that did it the right way than I did anything other than that. Now obviously that's not always the case, but I think some guys are frustrated in the media because they never got picked in gym class. Yeah. I think there was a whole group of that, so that used to bother me a little bit. But nonetheless, my experiences for the most were very positive, and I've always believed in that. And with you, that was fun to do that. I remember doing it that way, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was great. The amazing thing, and I know Lubie's got something for you, Coach, but, the phone rang about 6 times while I was sitting in there for, maybe 45 minutes or so, and it was all other coaches from around the league asking you how to defend a certain kicker, and, what did you do? I mean, how did you protect the fact that, you had a guy that was kicking him off short at the time. And, it was amazing. It was one call after another. Hey, Bill Belichick. Yeah, no, I can't talk to you. We're playing you on Sunday. And then the guy would go, oh, I'm sorry, Mike. Anyway, Lubie's got one for you. Mike Westhoff, and the book is out there called Figure It Out, which we've been trying to do for a long time.
Yeah, and it comes out July 12th officially on Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, but you can go to the Mascot, the publisher, directly if you want to get it early. And I would try and get it early because it's going to be a bestseller. Coach, it's interesting because we saw you on Hard Knocks, and you have somewhat of an old school mentality in certain circumstances, but you were the guy that the Saints just a few years ago brought back, who was trying to retire, but they needed you so badly in this modern day football, and you had a huge effect on that team to the point where they literally had punt blocks and field goal blocks, and in that playoff run. It's interesting to me what we see with coaching in modern day. It's as much psychology as it's ever been, and you are a king psychologist. And what we're seeing with the Dolphins is you were just around them with Tua, I find very interesting. The last regime was very old school with him, very tough on him, treated him, like almost what Bill Parcells did to Phil Simms, like he was just some other guy. And this regime, I don't know if they're coddling him, but they're trying to use new age positive reinforcement. It feels like you're a guy that's done both. Like when you take to coaching, we've seen the successful coaches realize each player is different. How did you treat it when you were coaching, and even today?
It's a good question, and I see that. I believe this. I have a master's degree in educational psychology, so it's not like I don't know anything about it. I studied it, but nonetheless, you just mentioned it to me that I would be old school. Well, that's because maybe I'm getting old. That's why. That's probably why you think that. But I think I believe that term's a misnomer.
Yeah.
Old school. I don't think I'm old school at all. What I know that I am is I'm reactionary.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to react very vehemently to what I see, and I would much rather be positive and talk and praise people. So that's really the right way to do it. That's a great job. But I'm not at all afraid to bring up when it's not so good and let someone know that this is not the way we're going to practice.
Yeah.
I'm start this whole thing over if I have to. I'll go back in the locker room, and we'll come back out. We'll blow the horn and start over. That's just not the way it's going to be. So I want to react to what I see, and I want to be able to talk and tell the players, what I've just witnessed and how I want to constantly be involved with them. I also very much respect their ability to talk with me and to be able to say, hey, coach, let's do this, or what if we did this? And I want a level of communication. I want to be able to discuss it. Now, when it's terrible and someone's not doing it right, or I don't see a particular form of effort, then I'm going to bring it up. I have no problem bringing it up. I absolutely don't. But I would much rather be positive. So, I think sometimes I think you make a big mistake if you don't do it that way, by talking about just everything's going to be positive and positively reinforced. Yes, of course. But I want to tell you what it is. You look right now, I was at the Dolphins and I saw a lot of good things. I mean, this is a pretty talented football team. There's a couple areas that, frankly, I was a little disappointed that day that I really didn't see. And all I want to do is that I know that you don't have to have opening day game plan ready. I know that. It shouldn't be there. But wherever you are in that year, whether you're in a mini camp or OTA, whatever it is, you've prepared for that day. And that day's practice should reflect that preparation. You don't have to look like your opening day, but you better look like you know what you're doing in that particular day in that practice. And if it's not, then I think you have to address that. If it is, then I'm the happiest guy in town. That's all I'm looking for, is that realm of expertise. But in the business like the National Football League, you better be taking positive steps, because that guy, everybody's a good player. I saw speed at that Miami Dolphin practice that I was knocked out with. They can run. If there's a race, the Miami Dolphins are going to win it. I mean, they are fast. That's a fast football team. So, I saw enough things to be very impressed. But then I saw a few things that I wasn't enamored with. And it's not like, I haven't been on some pretty good offensive practice fields in my day. Because I was there the whole time with Dan Marino. Oh, just for a second, I was there with Brett Favre, and then I was also with Drew Brees. So I think I know what a good offensive practice is supposed to look like. And if I don't see it, then I want to know why. Same thing with special teams. Every play has to have an exactness to it. And when it doesn't, then it's my responsibility to correct that. Now, whether I have to do it, with a pat on the back or maybe it's something a little bit more aggressive, or I would be pretty upset. But that to me is all coaching is. It's reacting to what we see and teaching it in the right way. That's it. I don't care about old school, new school, millennials. Don't give me all that malarkey. Just play the game the right way.
It's kind of funny. Mike Westhoff with us here on the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubie, Lubitz, on Channel, and various other locations where you can find us. You mentioned the old school thing, and I couldn't help when you dropped in the reference to St. Thomas and the practice facility versus what you would have today. And maybe that's an indication that they've taken this whole aspect of athleticism to scientific levels that we could have never comprehended, so-called back in the day.
Maybe.
Do you think, that gladiator kind of, a scenario that you had at St. Thomas where, it was like Clubber Lang was getting ready to fight Rocky Balboa and, he's in some dingy gym somewhere in the middle of nowhere. Did that spark any kind of, incentive in players, to be more physical? Do you think, is it possible that things are too refined today? In terms of getting athletes into the proper mentality to go out there and do essentially gladiator type of work.
That's an interesting point. I haven't thought of it that way, to tell you the truth. It's really interesting. I think with the way sports have progressed and with people, what they know today and what they've learned physiologically and what makes, the conditioning is tremendous. I mean, these guys today are really in tremendous shape. They work hard, their weight room, everything they do. We didn't have that back then. We didn't have quite that, but yet I think we practiced, and this would have to, I'd give credit to Coach Shula. His practices were extremely demanding, but yet they were also the shortest practices that I've ever been around. Ever, anywhere. They were the shortest. But believe me, for that period of time, you better get ready because we were going to rock and roll. I mean, his practices were very difficult, but they were short. And he believed that, every single thing had to be done perfectly. And so I think there's a lot of, that's the mentality. Did we have the great weight room back then? No, please. The weight room, you could have put it in the back of your car and driven around with it. I mean,
looked like a YMCA if I turned it down.
Come on, the YMCA would be embarrassed.
That hot tub was, what was it? That tub of ice that they had in the middle there of this small locker room. I mean, this was really, you talk about, almost coming out of the dungeon there. That was an atrocity, that St. Thomas practice facility. So.
Right, but if you'll remember this, though, don't forget this, the practice fields, the fields themselves look like Augusta golf course. They were beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, the grass was beautiful. Coach Shula did everything he could with what he had. That's what he did so well. That's why he's the greatest coach. He didn't have the greatest facility. So what? He was going to beat the guy with a better facility because he would do what he had outstanding. That's what he did. That's who he was. And that's what we were as a football team. And when we went on the team, nobody cared what locker room we ran the heck out of. Nobody cared. I tell you what they did know, though. When we came out on that field with Dan Marino and that group, you better be prepared for that.
Yeah.
Because that's where we excelled, and that's where Don Shula excelled.
Did you guys have money on how many laps Ed Newman would do in the 6-minute run? Or 12-minute run?
I never
run. Yeah.
I know what you mean. I used to be that. I never did anything like that because, in fact, I was always so nervous if someone I was coaching wasn't going to make it right, and I was scared to death I'd had to go out and run and help them.
Yeah,
so,
man. You would think any pro athlete could run for 12 minutes. I mean, if they asked Lubie to do it today, I'm sure he could do it if he had to. But, that was amazing how difficult that was. And it was like simple stuff. I mean, this really was sort of old school conditioning with Don Shula. And the guys didn't come in shape, as you mentioned, because half of them were working other jobs. All right. As a special teams guy, what do you take more satisfaction in? And if it's equal, I understand. But, when like a punt is blocked or a kick is blocked, field goal try, it's great because it's kind of like my golf shot where you hear whoosh, whoosh, because you get that second thwack. And you can hear it down there in the silent. It has to be an exhilarating feeling for a special teams coach. But is there anything sweeter than pulling off a fake punt or a field goal try that goes for a touchdown?
Those are really pretty fun to run. Again, I like when I look at everything that you just mentioned, it's going through my brain and I'm thinking, what was it about that would get me excited? And to me, it's the matter if it was strategic, because sometimes it's just a complete error where a guy on the team makes a real error. He misses or he blocks the wrong guy. He does something. He just makes a mistake and there's a play that occurs. But the one that I love is the one that you execute perfectly. You just know you can do it. You've worked it. You've got a guy you want to pick on. You do something, or you line up and run a fake. I loved when we did them at New Orleans. I had Tim Tebow. Not Tim. Tim did it very well for me actually, also. But I had Taysom Hill, and we were successful every single time we ran one. And people question me about this. Sean Payton, who I believe is an absolutely great coach and the best on the field teacher I ever saw in my coaching career. Sean Payton, he really is. He's special on the field, how he teaches. All right. He let me. I called those fakes, not him. I did it.
Wow.
But he trusted me. He trusted me. He knew I wasn't going to do it just stupid. I wasn't doing it to get my name in the paper. I knew we needed it, and I knew that this would work. And it worked 100% of the time, every single time we ran any kind of fake. And he trusted me. And he'd look at me sometimes like, I remember one time he came to me and he said, he said, I maybe should have talked to you about running the fake. I said, well, you probably already, because I already called it, so just go get through because we're going to get it. And we did. And we did.
Oh, you had
the
a green light like Luke Brock, man, to do whatever you want. Steal a base, no matter what.
I absolutely had a green light. I did everywhere I've ever been. But it worked. I didn't do it just stupidly. And so I love that. I mean, when you can pull that, and you're not just tricking somebody, but you're out executing them, to me, that's what coaching's all about.
It's fantastic. How good do you feel when you realize that your punter can throw the ball a little bit, or might have some running ability? And then the other side of it though is oddly Shula, for considered an old school conservative type of coach. I mean, was a bit of a gambler. I mean, he wasn't Jimmy Johnson in that regard, or Sean Payton. That was one of the boldest calls ever, right? When the Saints won the Super Bowl that year, and he calls for the onside kick to open the second half.
Yeah, Sean did that. That was a good play. Thomas Morstead was kicking off then, and he now is the Dolphins. He now is the punter for the Dolphins for the punter. He's a great
really
punter.
Does. Yeah.
They did. But see, Sean believed that they needed to steal a possession.
Yep.
If we're going to win this game, we need to steal a possession. How do you do it? Well, they took a chance on an onside kick. They hit the kick excellently. Tell you the truth, though, they hit it to the wrong guy. They hit it to a wide receiver, should have caught the ball.
Yeah.
They made a mistake. One of the Colts called me up after the game and asked me if I would analyze that play and go back through their stuff and pick out something that I felt that the Saints had really capitalized on that they had been doing wrong. And I said, absolutely not. I said, you did nothing. I said, they took the chance. But what they did do, they hit a great kick. Now, the fact they hit it to the wrong guy, well, they got a little lucky on that one. But they had the guts and the courage to try it, and it worked. So sometimes those things you have to. Coach Shula used to do. He wasn't afraid to try some things. He would. I remember Jim Jensen. We ran several fakes with Jim, but it's Jim Jensen, and he's the guy that can get it done. And Don believed in those types of players. He believed in them, and he would let them. He would give them some green lights and stuff. But he was always right on top of every little situation.
Crash is like you. He's out catching fish all the time.
Yeah, he's all over the place.
He spends a lot of time on the water. I always see him with pictures. It's like the old community newspaper where the little kid has the ring of perch and they put it in the paper. He's always got a picture of himself holding up a fish. But he was very, very versatile. All right, you mentioned you were at these Dolphin practices. I saw a clip with Mike McDaniel yesterday after the practice. He's walking with a little bit of a swagger, I think, which is I don't know how to interpret. I mean, he's a smallish guy, and it could be I don't see him as a Napoleonic Nick Saban maniacal type, but and he sort of said something that you alluded to earlier, Mike, when you were talking about, and we're talking about Mike Westhoff here on the Defo Show, longtime coach in the National Football League with the book Figure It Out. Already getting rave reviews, and that was a nice little piece they had on you in the New York Post. But you mentioned that the guy has to be satisfied with what he did today, and that sort of, echoed the sentiments that McDaniel expressed in this clip. He was very positive about what happened. He said, "This is where we needed to be at today." I mean, it sounded like he was quoting you, Mike Westhoff. Did you whisper this in his ear when you were down there at practice? And what do you make of this guy?
No. I did. I don't know. I don't know him well enough to say. I really don't. I know. I don't know that much of his background. I know he's been kind of an analytical type guy that worked his way up. Kind of the guy that's been behind the computer, going through that style to get into coaching. And he's around. He's been around some good people. So I think that rubs off on you. So we're going to find out. But, yeah, I think if that's the way he's looking at it, then I would be very much on his side in that regard. But yet I don't know him well enough, and we're going to find out. I know that they've put together for him a pretty good-looking football team. Can he take it over? I know he's talking about being very positive and a positive reinforcement, and I would agree with that if that's what's called for, if it's called for. And if it was yesterday, then God bless them, and that's what they deserve to hear. But, I want to hear that. I want it to be consistent. That's all I know. And I've been around, a couple of pretty good head coaches that did things that way, with of course, with Don Shula and with Jimmy. When Jimmy was there, Jimmy did a nice job with that. You know, he wasn't a big game plan guy, but he was a really good practice coach in how they practiced. He also managed the game very well. So, you know, everybody has strength. This guy's brand new. What will his be? I don't know. We're going to find out, though, because they've given him a couple weapons. They've really given him a few weapons. How he's going to handle them, I don't know, frankly. Some of the things that I saw when I was there, I saw some very positive things, and I saw an offensive practice that didn't quite knock me out. But that's going to happen. That's going to happen. But it better not happen too often, that's for sure, or then you're in trouble. So, you know, now you go against, one of the things that I kind of like is who you're going against. Now, you know, that Dolphin defense is pretty good looking. They're pretty good, and they can run. Yep. I mean, I'd be very disappointed if that's not a very good defensive football team. I would be disappointed. But they look pretty good to me. You know, these guys can run. So you practice against that every day. I mean, I remember when I was at the Jets and we were practicing against when Rex first came, that defense that he had with Drell Rivas, and that defense was good. And we weren't, you know, we had Mark Sanchez, who's not this great quarterback by any means, but Mark managed and got better and better. Plus, you know, we had LaDainian Tomlinson and a great offensive line. Well, it was a heck of a practice. I mean, those guys practicing against each other were really good. Well, the next thing you know, we're playing in the AFC Championship game. So maybe I'm a little bit correct. And that's the key, is to do it. So is this guy going to get that done? I don't know, Jeff. I couldn't tell you. I don't know enough. It'd be improper for me to comment on that. But he's got some tools in his chest. We'll find out what he does with them.
Amazing. Aside from Carson Palmer, you mentioned Sanchez. How many bust-out quarterbacks have come out of USC, which, you know, I mean, they had that long run of just monumental success there where they were atop the college football world. Mike, always a pleasure. How can people get access to the book now? And I guess the official date of release is right around the corner, so figure it out. Obviously, people can tell. Yeah.
Right now, it's really easy. Right now, it's very simple. You just go in on the computer. You just go into Mascot Books, MASCOT, mascotbooks.com, and if you in the search area, you put in the title of the book. Figure it out. It'll come up. Find me. You'll see it. You can get it either in, they call it a soft cover, which is not a paperback. It's a little not quite as expensive, or a hardcover. And it'll be delivered right to your house. They deliver it to you, beautiful, just like Amazon or anywhere. So you can get it right now through the publisher, or in the middle of July, anywhere, be in the bookstores, etc. I'm proud of it. I think it's a great story that needed told, and I'm extremely proud. I think people will get a pretty good look at what the National Football League is kind of really about in some of the players' language. So be prepared. It's a little salty.
Mike Westhoff would expect
Thanks,
no less,
Coach.
Especially after, as Lubie mentioned, that brilliant performance on HBO's Hard Knocks, where you stole the show. I mean, right from Rex Ryan. He was finished. He was nothing. He was you didn't even want to see Rex. All we wanted to see was more Mike Westhoff in front of the group of players. Michael, we love you, man. Thanks so much for being with us. It's always a pleasure, my friend, to catch up with you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. I love coming on with you guys. You guys are the best. Thank you.
We'll talk soon, Coach. Thanks.
Mike Westhoff, ladies and gentlemen. We welcome Tony Segreto to the program. Do you? I mean, we watched Pat Riley with this press conference the other day, and he said he was literally like sick after the Heat lost to the Celtics in Game 7. And I'm thinking, do you really feel like people are fueled by that sort of thing? I know Serena Williams always had the statement that she is more upset about losing than thrilled about winning. Always found that to be a little bit odd, to be so negatively motivated.
I don't find that odd at all.
For some reason.
I don't find that odd at all. That makes perfect sense to me. And Pat Riley, to me, I just think he is the quintessential guy in this town right now. Okay,
epitome of class and dignity, in my opinion,
without question. And I'm going to add something to that: passion. This guy has a passion and a fire. That's why he and Shula got along so well. They both represented that class, integrity, doing it the right way, not cutting corners. It's what do they say? The person with the real honest and fruitful integrity is the one who you can get alone in the dark and how they think and how their thoughts go. And that when Pat, you could understand how Pat would be sick to his stomach with that seventh game loss. You could understand that. And he wears his heart on his sleeve. He is as honest as he's allowed to be without throwing people under the bus or whatever the case might be. I mean, you got people you have to protect too, especially if you're making a call and you haven't told the person yet you're going to do something, or there's going to be a trade that you're working on. If it falls through, you don't want to let the other people feel bad about, they may be gone, they may be coming, whatever the case might be. But I believe Pat Riley. I loved what he did. I loved what he said. I loved his approach. I loved that, he challenged Lowry, that he challenged his hero. I love that's so Pat Riley. And that's so old school. But Riley carries the stick that just everybody pays attention to him. When you walk into a room of NFL owners, for example, or NBA owners, they all carry a big stick. Every single one of them has a huge stick. All right. But what stick do you listen to? And I don't care who you are in this league. When Pat Riley speaks, you're like this. Okay. Yeah. What's he going to have to say now?
No, it was always great. I mean,
Panthers, I'm not so sure about.
They don't. It's the opposite.
I don't know. Are they clowns? I mean, what's going on with that?
You sort of, every once in a while, you forget. Listen, do you ever forget that the Heat are in Miami? Do you ever forget the Dolphins are in Miami? No. Do you ever forget the Hurricanes are in Miami? No. Do you ever forget the Marlins, as good or bad as they are?
Marlins, I know. I found them to be forgettable. I really have. Yeah.
The Panthers seem to be that way too. Oh, we have a hockey team. Oh,
yep.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's one of those.
That may be true of the sport in general, though. I mean,
I don't know about that. I think the ratings did pretty well this year. Certainly not as good as some of the other sports.
It's an abstract game. I mean, it's hard for the average guy to just watch a game and see, that it isn't just a bunch of guys running around in circles going back and forth.
And I've always said
smashing into each other on skates.
And I've always said this, that National Hockey League hockey as a sport it's not a made for TV sport. It just does.
It's way better in person.
Yeah, it's all right on TV though. I mean,
it's fine.
It's not horrible anymore. They do a good job of.
They do much better than they used to, and you would hope that they would. But the other sports we're so used to, even baseball. You want to go to the game. Part of the charm of going to a baseball game.
It's true of all sports, though, don't you? Tony?
Well, I love the energy. I love the energy. I think when it comes to football, a lot of people would rather stay
not football today. Maybe better at home.
Only because of the hassle that's involved in going to a game. But you'd rather be at the game. I would.
Yeah, I do. Listen, me too. But I just think that
unless you can't walk, I mean.
Yeah, well, I wonder about the Panthers only because I just think they're forgettable, and that's not a good.
They are. Became that again. They are.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the issue. I mean, I would love to. There's no way that people are always going to jump on the bandwagon. They're always going to get excited, and when they get let down, they let it go. They forget about it, and they go, "All right, we'll get excited again when you take us to the spot again, and we'll see how we feel about it." That's kind of where it is. It's not like the Dolphins and the Hurricanes where you're talking about them year round. Listen, there's no question we're a football town, right?
Yeah.
There's no question about that. So I get that part, but still, I mean, it's
you need the right guy in charge. There's no question.
That's it.
Bill
You need
Zito
someone.
guy,
I think he's all right.
Yeah,
you need someone who's
that was a weird story the way that ended though this year because it couldn't have been any flatter that period that they put on the season.
Yeah,
and it really did. It ended with such a thud that you started to question again all of these same things. So although I'm not sure how fair that is, but then when you see Pat Riley and his commitment and the fact that it got to the point where he's so depressed he doesn't even want to wake up in the morning because he lost to the Celtics, for God's sake. Now, do you think that all goes back? Lubie might have been right about this. It all goes back to Danny Ainge. And his openly despising Danny Ainge. Certainly he can't have any fault, being a basketball historian with the history of the Celtics and the fact that they're, now engaged in the finals and 1-1.
Can I tell you something? This reminds me of me for a minute. Okay, you talk about could it go back to Danny Ainge, right? now,
well, it could always go back to Danny Ainge.
Well, of course. Now, I going to Miami like I did, and doing all the games that I did, and still heavily involved on campus, doing a bunch of different amazing things on campus. I've always obviously been a Hurricane fan and never a big Gator fan. But the level of dislike for the Gators stems from the Gator flop for
Gator
me.
flop.
Everyone talks about it.
I was on the field.
Disgusting.
It was just
A disgrace.
the most disgusting, disgraceful thing in sports that I have ever. You get me going.
We've seen a few examples of it since. There have been a few cases of that.
You get me going on that, and I will just tear it apart. And ever since then, man, my dislike has just never waned.
Doing talk shows during the heyday of the Gator-Canes rivalry, which really isn't there to the same level as it used to be. I don't feel that way.
They don't play, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and you just I used to be right at the center of it, and I love this because there was nothing better than igniting a spark in those hillbilly Gator fans, and it got to the point really where I was actually a known enemy of the Gator Nation, Tony. You had to be a little more neutral on TV, but I had egged these people on to the point where a guy actually called a Steve Spurrier show. A guy named Gator Bill, who went by the moniker Gator Bill, and he used to call the show, and he would say a few nice things about me, like I wasn't that bad of a guy, and then completely ream me, a new asshole about what a jerk I was about the whole Gator situation, which, I would then play banjo music and animal sounds in the background as if I was at a Gator pep rally. And so he says to Spurrier on the show as a call-in guest, he says, are you aware of this guy, Jeff DeForest? He mispronounced my name as like DeFlorest, down here in South Florida, and he seems to be a constant enemy of the Gator Nation. And Spurrier, much to my surprise, I happen to be watching this thing because I loved Gator Hotline as my favorite, like, hillbilly freak show on TV, where, you would have all kinds of people that were completely indiscernible calling in, and then Hubert would, guide Spurrier to an answer of the question that no one understood, right? So Spurrier fires back.
I'm glad you're still making friends. I'm glad you're still making friends.
Well, Spurrier fires back. Yes, we're aware of that DeForest guy.
We're aware.
I'm like, Spurrier
like
is
it's
thinking
the CIA.
about me?
FBI.
He's got the Hurricane monster defense. He's going to be going against Warren Sapp, for God's sake. And he's worried about what I'm saying on Gator Hotline. Our best was the phony Gator Hotline. It was one of our better bits of all time. We would just take various calls from hillbillies. I think it went underappreciated as a radio entity down here.
It's wild. It's absolutely wild.
Thank you again to Coach Mike Westhoff for joining us today. Also, enjoy our conversations with Tony Segreto. Always brought to you by Texas Roadhouse. Ed Garcia, they do a really good job. And Catholic Health Services, Defo is grateful for how they treated his mother. Tony's done a lot of things, both professionally and personally, with Catholic Health Services. Always been great whenever I've dealt with them. Really appreciate being partner with both Texas Roadhouse, Catholic Health Services. Appreciate you tuning in. Figure It Out by Coach Westhoff. The guy has lived multiple lifetimes when it comes to the league. He wasn't just a special teams coach. He's considered one of the great coaches in NFL history. Been around a lot of great minds. Worked closely with Don Shula, Dan Marino, was a big part of the Rex Ryan success. And when he wanted to be retired, Sean Payton called him out of retirement and said, we need you. Help them go on a deep run into the playoffs. Coach Mike Westhoff, always a heck of a lot of fun. Check out his book, Figure It Out. And Tony Segreto, we talked about Pat Riley's end of season presser. We have so much more for you. Check us out each morning. Just Google The Defo Show. Also, our Believe Network today, we talked about the NBA Finals with Coach Scott Spinelli. Was a longtime college basketball coach with Boston College, Maryland, Texas A&M. Was a guy that coached Chris Middleton in college, found him, and helped him become what he is today. Now he's an analyst with Nesson, talking NBA, college, and with the Believe Network himself as well. So check out that conversation. It was a lot of fun. Talked a lot of NBA Finals Game 3. Coach Scott Spinelli there, BLEAV.com. Search After Hours, and each and every day right here. The Defo Show with Lubie on the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
Hey, folks, Tony Segreto here. Since day one, Catholic Health Services has been part of Old School. And since we've started letting people know about them, it's changed their lives. You see, Catholic Health Services, while being recognized as one of the top places for stroke rehab in the country, it's also about a group of people who not just excel in what they do, from the doctors to the nurses to the therapist, on and on and on. It's how they do what they do every single day that separates them from the pack. They do it with a passion, unmatched, and the inclusion of family in every step of the process. Trust me when I tell you this. If you want the best, unmatched rehab with a special group of skilled, caring people, there is truly only one place, and that one place is Catholic Health Services.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.